This week on the Digital Coffee, how are younger people using social media? Not safe for work content is now legit on Twitter/X, and is privacy killing the internet? All that and more after this. Good morning, and welcome to the Digital Coffee, your weekly dose of digital marketing and social media news for your business. I can see we've got lots of people on nice and early, so great to see you all. Hello. My name, if you haven't watched before, my name is Amanda Webb. Who am I? I am a digital marketing ROI trainer, consultant, mentor. I knew there was something else, which means that I help businesses like yours to use your analytics, your Google Analytics, your social analytics, your CRM analytics, to spend less time, less money, and less energy on getting a profit from your business. So that is me. I'd love to know more about you. I can see, like I said, it's lovely to see. I love to see the numbers on my little screen here go up before I even start, because it makes me feel like, yay, people are watching. So if you are watching and you don't know what to say, but you want to say you're here, firstly, hello. Secondly, I grasp this mug of coffee, digital coffee, every week. And sadly, I am not allowed coffee before the show because I talk too fast. Anyway, with coffee, it gets crazy. So digital coffee, completely empty. I'd love to know what is in your mug. Is it actual real liquid? What is it? Is it tea? Is it coffee? Is it something else? I'd also love to know where you are in the world. So I'm in the Republic of Ireland in County Kildare, which is about an hour outside Dublin on a good day. And I am live here on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter/X. I think that's them all, right? So I'd love to know where you're watching. And there's Making, starting up the commenting. Sorry, I bashed my microphone. Hopefully that wasn't too loud for you. With coffee. Okay, Steve. Making's other half makes a coffee. And if you don't know Making, the first time I met her, it was because she's a tea specialist. You're letting the side down there, Making. Okay, so do let me know. Is it tea? Is it coffee? Where you're watching. I may not see your comments because sometimes they decide to send them to me and sometimes they don't. But if you do, I will come back and comment on later if I don't manage to get your comment clear. I can't speak now. If I can't get your comment on the screen, I will find them later and I'll come and say hello. So do let me know. But you're here for the news. So shut up. Oh, sorry, no news yet because I forgot last week to tell you about this. Myself and Making record a podcast live on LinkedIn where we cover one of these stories in more detail. We also talk about who won the internet and who lost the internet this week. So do come and join in. You can either join in live and just listen to the podcast recording, or you can come and have your say. And at the end, we give you a chance to say a little something about your business. So 10:30 a.m. on LinkedIn. If you are on a phone and can't scan that QR code, just look for Making Sang, TSANG, on LinkedIn and you'll see it in her profile. Okay, now I can actually talk about the news.
You're watching the Digital Coffee with Amanda Webb.
How do younger people use social media? We're obsessed by this, aren't we? We're obsessed. We always want to know. I know I'm like this. If I'm amongst younger people, I'm always kind of looking over their shoulder. Oh, what app are they using? What are they doing on their phone right now? When I get my teenage nieces together, it's always like, so, using TikTok, are you? What else are you? So we are obsessed. We want to know. And I think the reason for that is we think if we know what the youth are doing on social media, that's going to be the future. That's what we're going to be doing into the future. Now we can find out because Edison have just launched a report, or just published a report, telling us how younger people aged 12 to 17 are using social media. And actually there is absolutely no surprises. Younger people are using social media exactly the same way that older people are using it. So the number one reason that they use social media is to be entertained. The number 2 is to communicate with friends. The number 3 is to search for how-to content. So educational and entertainment content is what they're looking for, and they want to talk to their friends. And we know that that happens in private messages these days. The days where we used to have those conversations in public are beginning to wane. And like all of us, that means people are posting less content. They're actually searching for content that is educational and entertaining. So if you are targeting people, not just younger people, because this is a trend everywhere. We looked at some TikTok stats last week that showed that even though there's a lot of Generation X like me on there, we're not putting much content up at all. So create content that is entertaining, that is educational, that is going to get people to know you and understand your business. That's what I'd say this says to us. And there is, apart from the networks that they use, because, more of us oldies use Facebook, very few youngsters use Facebook. Apart from that, we're all using it the same way, which is kind of disappointing, isn't it? I'm still going to be looking over the shoulders of my nieces to see what they're doing.
Hi, I'm Kyra Fingleton from Glamping Under the Stars, and you're watching The Digital Coffee with Amanda Webb.
Good thumbnails on YouTube are what make people click. If you think about it, if you go to YouTube and you're scrolling through, it is that thumbnail image, that static image at the beginning that helps you make the decision whether to click. It's the first thing that attracts your attention before you even see the title of the video. And if you could split test that, so if you could create more than one version of your thumbnail image and test it and see which one got the most clicks and the most views and the longest views and the more call to action clicks through to your website, that would be useful, right? It would be, right? Well, there are tools out there that can do this for you. I mean, I've used a lot of them. They'll set up this whole process for you. But now you may not need to pay because YouTube is testing, allowing you to split test your thumbnails on the platform. They're currently testing this with 50,000 YouTube creators. So it's a big test and hopefully it's going to be rolled out to everyone. So you're no longer going to have to pay. You'll be able to split test. What's in it for YouTube? Well, YouTube are under threat from TikTok. It's almost like they're in a war at the moment, TikTok and YouTube, to get the most viewers. And obviously, if you can get more people viewing your content, if more content gets viewed on YouTube and keeps people on YouTube, that's good for them and it's good for you. But do you use YouTube? Do you actually post content there? Going back to our last story, are people actually putting content up there? I know I've slowed my content creation down way. I mean, I am here every week on YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube, hello. But are businesses actually using it, or does it just seem like a whole lot of hassle to you? I'd love to know. I don't know which button to press. Bear with me. Oh, it's that one.
I'm Louise Brogan, host of LinkedIn with Louise, and you're watching Digital Coffee with Amanda Webb.
You know what's popular on the internet? Yes, cats. Cats are very popular on the internet. I'm lucky to have 3 wonderful cats in my life, and I do spend a lot of time on a Saturday morning scrolling through Reels or TikTok at cat videos. But apart from cats, what is popular on the internet? Porn. Yes, porn is popular. There's no two ways about it. It's a massive amount of internet is used to view porn. So if you were a flagging business, if you'd spent a whole lot of money acquiring a business and it was hemorrhaging money, would it be a good idea to embrace adult content? Maybe this is what our friend, I have to grab my bell. I say friend ironically, you know that. Mr. Elon Musk must be thinking, apparently already. Now, I know May King is here watching on LinkedIn and we've discussed this. She never sees porn. Like I see full on porn sometimes on Twitter. She never sees it. I don't know what I'm doing wrong to get it, but it puts me off going there. Anyway, 13% of content on X is not safe for work. Now, that doesn't mean full on porn. That could just mean a little bit of nudity, that sort of thing. But now, Mr. Musk is going to embrace this because now he is launching the opportunity for communities, which are X's version of Facebook groups, to mark themselves as not safe for work. So you'll be able to have these communities where you can freely share not safe for work content. Now, why would he do this? One, because he's like got this weird idea of what freedom of speech is, and basically you can put porn wherever you want. Doesn't matter if your users don't like it. But also, obviously, this is a reason that people use the internet. So if Twitter can be somewhere where you go and get your porn, obviously it's going to attract a certain type of user. Let's just put it that way. Well, that's my thoughts. Maybe he doesn't care. Maybe he's just going, look, just let's see what happens when I do this. Sometimes I think that's what's behind Elon Musk's every thought. What happens if I do this? What happens if I do that? But still, you're not going to be able to escape it. It's going to be there. It could be a good business decision. It just could be a random thought.
Hello, this is Simon Hodgkins, and you're watching The Digital Coffee with Amanda Webb.
Are big tech companies deliberately making it frustrating to use the internet? This is a question that is being asked because recently, as you probably know, the EU launched the Digital Markets or Marketing Act, the DMA. And this puts certain restrictions on how big tech companies could use data and privacy. And a lot of users are finding some things quite frustrating. So one user talks about when they go to Google Maps and they're not able to find a business. They have to click several times. There's a terrible user experience. I couldn't replicate this, and I am in the EU. Some of the Google search is broken. There's a whole lot of stuff that is just becoming ridiculously frustrating for users, which you'd think would be bad news for Google and other platforms. I mean, we're looking at Facebook battling the EU in the courts at the moment about personalised ads. So you'd think this would be bad news. But people are suggesting that actually it's not down to them complying. It's malicious compliance. So they are deliberately making this may not be true. I'm just going to put that out there. Could they be deliberately making their tools frustrating to use so people complained about it and the EU rolls back some of its laws? It's an interesting one, but either way, user experience is going to suffer as part of privacy. But as small businesses and as big tech firms, this is something we are going to have to get used to. We're going to have to get used to. I mean, we have been spoiled for so long, being able to know every last move that our customers make when they visit our websites, when they do anything anywhere that we can advertise to people with very specific groups of interest. All that is going away, and it's painful. But could it be for the better in the end? I honestly don't know the answer, but I don't think things are going to change however much the big tech companies make things awkward.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. This is Jeremiah J-Man Monero with J-Man Speaks from New York, and you're watching Digital Coffee with Amanda Webb. Make it a great day.
Podcast listeners are on the up. They are up on last year, according to a survey from Edison Research, which was based in the United States. So they are talking about US users. We have to think about whether that's actually going to be the same as EU users, but US users over 12. And it says that 7% have listened to a podcast in the last month, which is up 12% from last year. I think I may have put a wrong number in there. 34% have listened in the last week, which is up 10%. So 34% of people in America over the age of 12 have listened to a podcast in the last week. That is a lot of people. Significant growth in female podcast listeners, which is great news because I think a lot of people are put off by the fact that there's a very laddish kind of angle on not particularly the podcasts I listen to, but they are still very male dominated. But there is a real laddish vent in podcast world that I try to avoid. Particularly there's like one podcast here in Ireland I'm not going to name, but it's the two somebody's name. It's just not for me, right? So it's good to see that more women are listening, which means there'll be more female content. 45% up from 39%. 32% of women listen weekly, which is up from 27%. So this is good news for myself and Making for our podcast, because of course we have a podcast called The Extra Shot. Search for it wherever you listen to your podcast. You'll see a picture of myself and Making pointing at the camera on a purple background. That's us. Come subscribe. We'd love to see you there. We'd love to see you at our podcast recording. as well at 10:30. So it's good news for anyone that's got a podcast, because there are a lot of podcasts out there. But now it turns out there's a lot of podcast listeners as well. I've managed to actually close my notes. She's good, right?
Hi, I'm Carol Phillips from Laguna Beach, California, and I'm here watching Digital Coffee with Amanda Webb. Hi!
Talking of podcasts, where do you listen to your podcasts? You know, I remember when they first became a thing, it was all Apple, right? It was Apple. Oh, my notes. It was Apple. I'm just going to do this for a little while. I'm scrolling on my notes. It was Apple Podcasts. That's where I subscribe to everything to start with. I now use Pocket Casts. There are so many players out there. Of course, we've got Spotify, we've got YouTube. Does anyone actually listen on Google Podcasts? I went and checked our podcast stats. Nobody who listens to our show. I mean, it's a small listenership. It's a newish podcast, but still nobody on our show listens via Google Podcasts. Could this be why they're getting rid of it? So this week, Google have got rid of Google Podcasts. They want people to use YouTube and music instead. People who use Google Podcasts, which is like an app on your phone, apparently, if you've got an Android phone. People who use Google Podcasts say YouTube Music isn't a good alternative. I'm like, who cares? Just go and find another podcast player. Don't know why people are upset, but I suppose any tool that you get rid of. The big question is, will people abandon podcasts? Because I'm laughing because you know the answer, right? Will people abandon podcasts because Google Podcasts has gone away? No, they won't. No, they won't. Of course, they'll just find another place to listen. You know, whether it's Spotify, whether it's YouTube, whether it's Pocket Cast, whether it's Overcast, whether it's, I could list all the places you could listen to podcasts. So actually, I don't know why I put that in. It's a no news story, really, isn't it?
I'm Esther.
And I'm Melanie.
From the Monday Morning Marketing Podcast.
And you're watching the Digital Coffee
with Amanda Webb.
Now you can be the smartest person in the room if you wear Meta Ray-Bans. Because you may be aware of these already. These are an augmented reality glasses, a bit like the Snap glasses you used to have. They're made by Ray-Ban, so they look pretty cool. You look like you're basically just wearing a cool pair of Ray-Bans. But they do more. So they can do it. They've got little speakers built in. They can take photos. You know, they're a bit like a cross between what Snapchat glasses, which kind of looked ridiculous, although I did have a pair and loved them, and Google Glass from the old days. They kind of do a lot of that stuff. And now they're getting an AI upgrade. So now you'll be able to do things like translate text. You'll be able to get it to look at the text and translate it for you. I'm imagining it's text. It does say translate, but I'm not sure whether it's going to translate somebody speaking in real time. We'll have to find out, right? It will also be able to identify objects, which is pretty cool as well, and landmarks, which is pretty cool. All of that built in. Now, you can already do this stuff. If you have the Google app on your phone, I use it when I'm overseas a lot because I am very slow to pick up languages. Like, you know, I was terrible. I've been terrible at every language I've tried to learn. It's like I am bottom of the class. Everyone else is racing ahead of me while my head is still trying to comprehend. So I use the Google app a lot. You know, if I'm in France, I'll scan a sign or a menu. It's great for menus, so I can see what it actually says, and then I feel clever because I've used an app to do it for me. And of course, it will also identify plants and objects and lots of things, but still built into glasses. This means you don't have to open the app and look down at your phone. It'll actually be you'll be able to talk to your glasses. I think you have to say, hey, Meta, and it will do the work for you, and the headphones will actually tell you stuff. Headphones, built-in speakers, but I guess ideally you'd be wearing headphones because you look like a weirdo if it starts coming out of your glasses. Still, think this is really cool. I want a pair. I'm very tempted now. Wasn't before, but I do like the sound of this, and I like the fact that it can make me feel like a smarter person. Now, I've had a record number of people, well, not a record, I've had a lot of people watching and no comments have come through apart from making. So either you're not commenting, which is fine. You know, if you just want to watch, I don't mind. It's great to have you here. I love having you here. But just to let you know, if you have left a comment, I'm going to come and find it and I'm going to comment later on. But also don't forget at 10:30 a.m. to come and join us for the Extra Shot recording. Last week, my recording went wrong. So that meant only people who were alive heard about May King and her dolphin murdering ways. This week, hopefully I'll get it right and you'll be able to subscribe to the podcast too. That is all for this week. I will be back, same bat time, same bat place next week. Until then, bye-bye.